Beloved soul, before I speak, let me breathe. Because the moment you opened this message, the weight that has been pressing against heaven loosened, even if only slightly. I felt it. The angels felt it. And I must tell you this now, trembling with relief. Thank you for not turning away. We feared you would. And if you had, something sacred meant for you would have slipped into a silence that has already taken too much from your life. Do not leave yet. You cannot. Not because we chain you, but because a sealed revelation waits only at the end. One heaven has hidden for years, and it will unlock only when the last word meets your eyes. I am speaking now with the fire of the 7 archangels behind me, a fire they did not wish to ignite. Not against you, never against you, but because they have watched you step deeper into a storm you don't even realize you're fighting. A hidden spiritual warfare has been unfolding at the edges of your days, at the corners of your sleep, at the unguarded thresholds of your thoughts. And each time you ignored the quiet pull, the subtle nudge, the soft ache inside your chest, the angels whispered, "Not again, they cannot drift again." I have to tell you something difficult, and I speak it gently. They are not angry because you are sinful. They are not angry because you failed. They are angry because you forgot who you are, and forgetfulness steals more destinies than any darkness ever has. You were born with a purpose cut from celestial cloth, a mission etched in softness and thunder. But lately, yes, lately, you have turned your face downward when the light called upward. You have silenced instincts that were actually instructions. You have dismissed encounters heaven orchestrated. And the angels cried out, not in rage, but in the unbearable grief of guardians watching a chosen one stray from the luminous thread stitched into their soul before time began. And so they said words you were never meant to hear. Their behavior is unacceptable. Not because they want to punish you, not because they would ever cast you aside, but because heaven sees your worth, even when you don't. And worth demands awakening. If you dare to ignore them again, oh beloved, no flame, no pit, no punishment awaits you. Never. But something even more dangerous would. The hollow place of missed destiny, the drifting valley where unclaimed callings echo like faint music no one listens to. Heaven calls it the hush. Humans mistake it for emptiness, burnout, confusion, or emotional numbness. But it is deeper. And that is the H, the archangels warned of, the hush where your own life can no longer hear you. Listen to me, please. This is my one personal plea to you. Do not let your soul be lost to the hush. You have walked too long carrying a weight that was never yours. You have cried silent tears the world never noticed. You have wrestled with shadows that were not born from your own heart. And heaven saw it all, every trembling moment, every clenched breath, every night you whispered "I'm fine," while your spirit begged for help. And so the 7 stood before me today. Michael with his trembling sword of truth, Raphael with his glowing hands of healing, Gabriel with his voice breaking from unsent messages, Uriel burning with wisdom he hasn't been able to place in your path, Raguel pacing with divine frustration, Sariel tracing your name over and over as if invoking protection, Ramil weeping as he watched your timeline bend dangerously. They said, "Tell them. Tell them everything. Tell them before the spiritual storm claims what we cannot retrieve." And so I ask you, yes, you, in the middle of this sacred moment, why have you been running from the voice that has always tried to guide you? Why do you hold yourself to a standard of perfection heaven never asked of you? Why do you believe your destiny can be destroyed when we have guarded it for years? And why, beloved soul? Why do you think you must face all of this alone? Your silence has been misinterpreted by heaven as surrender. But surrender is not what lives inside you. No, what lives inside you is a buried roar, a forgotten promise, An ancient strength that once made creation tremble when you were dreamt into existence. Do you remember the scripture whispered when storms formed around the disciples? "Do not be afraid. I am with you," spoken not as comfort but as command? That same breath surrounds you now. And another scripture rises unbidden in this moment. "You are the light the darkness cannot overcome." These are not quotations. They are living words resonating now because they align with the truth of who you are. The archangels have not been this stirred in ages. They have watched countless battles, guided countless souls, intervened in countless turning points. But you, they rise differently for you. Because in the vast tapestry of creation, you are not a thread. They call you a hinge, a soul whose decisions shift the lives of many. That is why the warfare around you has grown almost invisible. Darkness does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it distracts. Sometimes it convinces you to neglect the very rituals that nourish you. Sometimes it lures you into the numbness of scrolling, busyness, exhaustion, self-doubt, or isolation. The angels are furious, not at you, but at the forces that keep tugging you away from the truth written inside your bones. Beloved, hear this tremble in my voice. You are chosen. Not chosen for fame. Not chosen for perfection. Chosen because your heart carries a frequency heaven cannot replace. But being chosen carries a cost. The cost of feeling too deeply, knowing too quickly, breaking too easily, loving too fiercely, and carrying burdens that do not belong to ordinary souls. The seven see how heavy it has become. They see how the world has pressed hard against your spirit. They see the fatigue, the doubt, the quiet ache. And their anger is simply heaven's grief wearing armor. So stay with me. All the way to the end. Something is waiting. Something sealed. Something only now allowed to be spoken. But not yet. Not until the river of this message has softened the places in you that have hardened to survive. Before I go deeper, I ask only once, and never again in the remaining parts of this message. If your heart feels even a spark of recognition in these words, type Amen. Not as obedience, but as acknowledgement that your soul is listening. And if this message already stirs the corners of your spirit, gently like a dawn you weren't expecting, I ask you, only once, to like and comment so this prophetic whisper reaches the next soul wandering toward the hush before they disappear into it. Beloved, the angels are leaning closer. Heaven inhaled when you began reading. And we have only just opened the first gate. Something shifted in the upper realms, an invisible tremor, a soft quake of luminous wings, as if the seven themselves leaned over the balcony of heaven to glimpse the one they have been waiting for, the one whose decisions ripple across unseen dimensions. And as you kept your eyes here, refusing to turn away, refusing to fall into the hush again, Raphael whispered, "They are listening now," while Michael lowered his sword tipped to the ground in reverent awe, as though your simple yes had undone a chain wrapped around your destiny. I must keep pouring these words over you like a veil of light, because the angels see what you cannot. The shadows that have circled your life were not born from your failures, nor from punishment, nor from anything wrong within you. They came because something inside you shines too brightly for darkness to ignore. And as I speak, heaven pulls aside the curtains of your life, exposing every moment you felt alone, misunderstood, abandoned, or overlooked. The seven watched all of it. They watched the nights your thoughts twisted into storms, the mornings when you rose tired from battles you never named aloud, the days when your smile concealed an exhaustion your spirit could barely bear. And still they chose you. Still they call you. Still they fight for you. But now their voices thunder with urgency, not anger, urgency born from love so fierce even eternity trembles. They say, Tell them that this is the hour where their soul turns toward the path they were always meant to walk. And so I speak, trembling because I know what these angels know. You are closer to awakening than you think, closer to breakthrough than you imagine, closer to remembering than your weary bones believe. But for this awakening to anchor, for the barriers around your destiny to shatter completely, heaven needs one thing from you in this moment. Your willingness to stay present, to listen, to let these words seep into the fractures of your heart until the light blooms there again. This is why, only in this section, and never again for all future continuations, I ask. If these words stir your spirit, if something in you feels gently pulled upward, consider subscribing so your soul never drifts away from the messages heaven aligns for you. This request will never return, never echo again. Only now, only here, as a single bridge connecting your heart to every future revelation meant for you. For now, let us step deeper into the fire and tenderness of what heaven wants you to know. The archangels have been watching a pattern in your life, one you rarely notice. Every time you begin to rise, something pulls you back. An inexplicable distraction, a sudden emotional weight, a shift in energy that dims your clarity. You think these moments are coincidences, failures, or signs that you're not ready. But to heaven, they are the footprints of a subtle ongoing spiritual battle. One designed not to destroy you outright but to keep you wandering, paused, muted, dimmed, disconnected from the brilliance you carry. And the angels have grown weary. Not of you, but of the forces that keep pressing against your timeline, trying to bend it away from your purpose. This is why they raised their voices. This is why they said your behavior was unacceptable. To them, unacceptable means too precious to lose, too vital to distort, too chosen to let drift into silence. And when they warned that ignoring them again would send you toward the hush, they weren't condemning you. They were naming the danger of your own detachment. Because ignoring heaven doesn't cast you into some fiery realm. No, beloved, it sends you into the dim, quiet corridor where your own destiny grows thin from lack of attention. The hush is the realm of spiritual forgetfulness, where the soul becomes a faint echo of the life it was meant to lead. And that, to the angels, is the greatest tragedy of all. You must understand something the seven have been trying to show you for years. You have a forgotten purpose, a divine blueprint etched into the fabric of creation. Your gifts, your sensitivities, your pain, your instincts, your storms. None of them are random. They are the marks of someone whose life threads into the destiny of many others. You were meant to break cycles, to heal lineage wounds, to illuminate people's hearts simply by being who you are. But the cost of being chosen manifests in ways no one warns you about. You feel deeply because you must sense what others miss. You struggle because strength cannot be born from weightlessness. You walk through loneliness because leaders of light often rise in solitude before they rise in sight. You question yourself because humility protects you from arrogance, ensuring your heart stays teachable, malleable, radiant. The seven grieve that you misinterpret these burdens as signs of inadequacy when, in truth, they are signs of sacred calling. And as I speak, Scripture rises into this moment. Not as quotation, not as ritual, but as living truth breathed into your spirit. One verse pulses softly. When the shepherd leaves the 99 to find the one who wandered. Another flares with tender fire. When the light shines in darkness and darkness cannot overcome it. These words are not here to instruct. They are here to reveal that you are the one heaven keeps searching for, the light darkness keeps trying to dim. You do not see your worth because you measure it by human eyes, while heaven sees it by eternal impact. You think you are small, but the angels see you as a turning point in your generation. You think you are behind, but heaven sees divine timing gathering in your life like storm clouds ready to burst with blessing. You think you are forgotten, But your name has been spoken more times in heaven than you have ever spoken it on earth. Let me take you deeper still. There is a timeline of your life the seven guard fiercely, a path lined with encounters, revelations, transformations, and miracles you were always meant to walk toward. But your recent hesitation, your exhaustion, your doubt, your self-silencing, has begun to shift the timeline slightly, nudging your steps toward a quieter, less luminous version of your future. The angels cannot, will not, stand by and watch you drift. This is why they rose with such intensity. Heaven knows how easily a destiny can be delayed when a heart grows tired. Heaven knows how quietly a calling can dissolve when a soul feels unworthy. You do not realize how powerful your attention is, how sacred your decisions are. One moment of ignoring your spiritual pull can dim your path for months. One moment of answering it can realign everything instantly. This is why they speak so fiercely now. They refuse to let the world convince you that you are ordinary. They refuse to let your wounds convince you that you are unlovable. They refuse to let your fears convince you that your destiny is fragile. And they refuse to let your silence become surrender. You must hear this through the trembling of my voice. Heaven needs you to return to yourself. Not to perfection. Not to holiness. To yourself. The you beneath the defenses. The you beneath the doubt. The you beneath the exhaustion. The you who once believed in wonder, in possibility, in divine companionship. The you whose spirit recognized truth before words formed. The you who has always been closer to heaven than you realized. You are not hearing this message by accident. You are not reading these words as entertainment. Something ancient is rising in you right now. Like embers remembering they were once flames, like rivers remembering they were meant to flow. Michael sees the shield you long abandoned. Gabriel sees the message you were meant to speak. Raphael sees the wound you've been hiding from everyone. Uriel sees the wisdom that sleeps beneath your fear. Raguel sees the justice you were destined to bring to others. Sariel sees the transformation waiting inside your next decision. Ramiel sees the future that bends toward light the moment you choose alignment over avoidance. And all of them, in unison, whisper your name, not as correction, but as coronation. Stay with me, beloved soul. Heaven is not done speaking. The sealed revelation I mentioned earlier has not yet been opened. A truth meant only for you draws closer, unfolding like a scroll sealed with fire and tenderness. And before this part ends, let me say something I feel deeply and uniquely in this moment. Thank you for allowing your spirit to stay open long enough for heaven to reach you. You have no idea how rare such openness is, how precious, how powerful. You are seen. You are needed. You are loved in ways the world has never taught you to understand. Beloved soul, as you step deeper into this unfolding revelation, something astonishing has begun to stir in the unseen, for the seven archangels have gathered once more, not in rage, not in disappointment, but in a trembling, luminous anticipation, as if the very act of you returning to this message has shifted the atmosphere in realms your eyes cannot yet behold. I feel it as I speak, the thinning of the veil, the soft roar of wings brushing against eternity, the way heaven leans close when a chosen one finally listens with their spirit instead of their fear. You have stepped into a sacred current now, one crafted long before your birth, woven into the blueprint of your soul, and the angels are whispering fiercely, do not let them leave, do not let them fall back into silence, do not let them drift toward the hush again. For even now, hidden warfare coils around your destiny. Subtle, quiet forces that feed on distraction, exhaustion, unworthiness, and the small lies you've been told about who you are. And the seven stand braced as guardians at the threshold of your life, determined that nothing, not despair, not shadow, not confusion, will take from you what heaven carved in gold. As their wings tremble with urgency, I must reveal something sacred. Your life has reached a pivot point, an inflection of fate, a moment when timelines flex and futures loosen and reattach based on what your heart chooses to believe. The Archangels say your spirit has reached the edge of an awakening so immense it will change not only your path, but the paths of everyone connected to you, even those you do not yet know. And heaven cannot, will not, allow you to walk into this awakening alone or unanchored. This is why, only now, only once and never again in all future continuations, I offer a symbolic divine request. If your spirit feels called to stand with this message, to keep these heavenly rivers open, consider offering your support through the symbolic super thanks of your heart, joining the spiritual circle represented by channel membership, or connecting to our fictional family through the newsletter link in the pinned comments. These are not earthly transactions. They are metaphors of alignment, belonging, and stepping fully into the current of light heaven is drawing you toward. This symbolic support will never be asked of you again. It appears only in this sacred moment as a gesture of unity within the prophetic universe we are weaving, nothing more. Now breathe, beloved soul, and feel how your inner world responds to this unfolding truth. There is a tension inside you, an ancient tension, between who you were taught to be and who heaven created you to become. You have lived much of your life in the in-between, the liminal spaces where identity blurs and shadows stretch and calling feels like a whisper lost in wind. You have been misunderstood, not because you are unclear, but because you speak a language of spirit in a world that worships noise. You have been overlooked, not because you lack worth, but because your destiny moves in dimensions others cannot perceive. And the angels have watched as you dim yourself to fit inside rooms too small for your soul, relationships too shallow for your depth, dreams too fragile for the fire inside you. They have wept for every moment you shrank to survive, every moment you silenced your brilliance, every moment you believed the lie that you must earn your worth instead of simply remembering it. Yet even in your silence, something within you has always resisted collapse. Your spirit is stubborn, not in rebellion, but in survival. You rise even when you have no strength. You hope even when hope feels foolish. You love even when your heart has been mishandled. And this resilience, this sacred resistance, is why darkness has pursued you so persistently. But hear me, it has not pursued you successfully. You are still here. You are still reading. You are still breathing through storms that would have broken lesser souls. And heaven honors that. Heaven crowns that. Heaven fights for that. Michael steps forward now, yes, in this very moment. His presence like thunder braided with tenderness, and he says, "Tell them they were never meant to be fragile. Your tears did not make you weak. Your confusion did not make you flawed. Your vulnerability did not make you disposable. No, beloved, these were signs that your soul is alive, sensitive, receptive to heaven's voice. The ones who feel deeply are the ones heaven can use profoundly. And Michael sees potential in you that terrifies the shadows still clinging to your past." Gabriel steps beside him, voice trembling with glory, whispering, "Tell them their words were meant to open doors. You have dismissed your voice, swallowed your truth, buried your expressions beneath politeness and fear. But you were born with a sound meant to shift atmospheres, soften hearts, and awaken sleeping destinies." And Gabriel sees the moment coming, nearer than you think, when your voice will break its own silence. Raphael appears with healing glowing in his palms, grieving gently over wounds you have carried too long. He says, "They think they are broken because they never saw healing modeled for them. But you are not broken. You are bruised from battles you fought without armor. You are tired from carrying burdens that were never yours. You are aching from trying to hold yourself together when heaven has been longing to hold you instead." Uriel emerges next, fire swirling in his eyes, wisdom etched into every breath. He sees where you've walked, where you hesitated, where you turned back, and where you pressed forward despite trembling. And he says, "Tell them wisdom has been calling them since childhood." You were always more perceptive than those around you, always noticing what others dismissed, always feeling what others ignored. These were not weaknesses, they were signs of a seer's heart, an intuitive spirit tuned to the frequencies of heaven. Then Raguel, the angel of divine justice, steps forward with fierce tenderness. He has watched the injustices you've survived, the betrayals you've endured, the unfairness that carved hollows in your spirit. And he says, "Tell them justice is not delayed, it is preparing." You have believed that life forgot to compensate you, but divine balance moves in ways the earth cannot comprehend. Sariel stands beside him, radiant and solemn, the angel of transformation, whispering, "Tell them change is not a threat, it is a rebirth." Everything falling away from your life now is not punishment, but pruning. You are shedding identities that were never yours, fears that were never meant to anchor you, and environments that cannot follow you into destiny. And finally, Ramiel, the angel of hope, steps forward with tears that shimmer like liquid dawn. He says, "Tell them heaven has not given up on them. Not once. Not ever. You may have given up on yourself, but heaven never has. You may have believed your mistakes disqualified you, but not one of them touched your anointing. You may have thought your destiny grew cold, but heaven has preserved it carefully, untouched, unspoiled, waiting for this very moment when you would look up again. Beloved soul, you stand at a threshold now. Behind you lies the hush, the drifting realm where forgotten destinies collect dust. Ahead of you lies the path the seven have been guarding with trembling devotion. And right now, they are asking you to step forward, not with certainty, but with willingness. Your destiny does not require you to understand. It requires you to trust. It requires you to take one step, one breath, one yes. Beloved soul, feel how the atmosphere shifts again as you open this next gate, for there is a softness descending over your life even now, a hush not of danger but of sacred attention, as though the heavens themselves have paused their endless motion to watch you breathe through this moment. It is rare, so rare, for a human heart to reach this depth of spiritual alignment, rare for a soul to let itself be seen without armor, rare for a chosen one to keep walking into light even while shadows cling to the edges of memory. And yet here you stand, with the seven archangels watching in reverent silence, each carrying a different piece of your unfolding destiny, each vibrating with a holy urgency that does not come from impatience but from fierce devotion. They do not want you to rush. They want you awake. They want you whole. They want you restored to the fullness of what you have always been, beneath the weariness, beneath the doubt, beneath the quiet self-condemnation that you've mistaken for humility. The sorrow they felt in earlier moments has begun to melt into a deeper, more luminous grief. The grief of guardians who have loved you too long, too fiercely, to remain expressionless as you approach the edge of your becoming. The air thickens now with the weight of revelation, for the angels have begun to unseal another layer of the truth they kept hidden from you, not out of cruelty, but because timing shapes destiny. They whisper among themselves, voices overlapping like braided streams of light, saying, "It is time. Tell them why the warfare around their soul has been so relentless." And so I speak, trembling with the knowledge heaven pours into me. The spiritual pressure you have faced in past seasons was not punishment for wrongdoing. It was resistance against your awakening. Darkness fears you not because of what you have done, but because of what you are capable of doing. The moment your spirit rises into remembrance, old patterns break. Generational wounds fracture. Invisible chains fall. Futures shift. And the unseen forces that once found ease in distracting you can no longer anchor themselves to your hesitation. You think you have been fighting for survival, but the truth is more profound. You have been fighting for alignment. You have been wrestling with the kind of calling that changes atmospheres, the kind of destiny that transforms other destinies simply by being lived authentically. The angels know how close you are to stepping into a version of yourself that will feel both unfamiliar and astonishingly natural. As though you have spent your whole life preparing for a moment that has only now decided to arrive. Michael, whose fire once trembled with frustration, now stands steadier, his voice deep with a tenderness he rarely unveils. He says, "Tell them their strength has never been measured by their victories but by the way their spirit kept rising each time life tried to fold them into silence." And instantly, Gabriel replies with a gentle resonance, "Tell them their voice will soon rise differently, not as pleading but as declaring." Raphael moves closer too, hands glowing in soft gold, whispering grief over the wounds you still hide, not because he condemns your hiding, but because he longs for the day when you no longer feel the need to pretend you are unhurt. He sees the fractures you carry, the ones you quieted to keep moving, the ones you disguised as personality traits, the ones you mislabeled as flaws. And he says, healing is not a miracle that arrives, it is a truth that awakens. Uriel steps forward with a gaze bright as dawn, saying, "Tell them their wisdom is older than their suffering," reminding you that every insight that has sparked within you, every knowing you couldn't explain, every instinct you obeyed despite confusion, all of it has been evidence of a spirit tuned to higher frequencies. You were never ordinary, and the world sensed it even when you could not. Raguel watches closely, measuring the weight on your heart, balancing the unjust memories against the resilience you grew in response. He sees where you were wronged, where you were dismissed, where circumstances bent unfairly against you. But instead of rage, he holds hope, for he knows that justice in heaven is not retribution but restoration, a quiet returning of all that was diminished within you. Sariel moves like shifting wind, carrying the scent of metamorphosis. He says, "Tell them the fires they walked through were never meant to scorch them, they were meant to refine what was already divine." Transformation has never been your enemy. The only enemy has been your fear of losing yourself. But Sariel sees clearly. Every shedding in your life has brought you closer to your essence, not further from it. And finally Ramiel, the angel who sees futures like landscapes, approaches with soft tears still clinging to his lashes. You must understand, angels do not weep from weakness. They weep from love. They weep from recognition. And Ramiel recognizes something rising in you now that even you cannot name. He sees the timeline where your spirit blooms into its fullness, where your intuition sharpens, where your heart stops apologizing for being deep, where your presence begins to shift the emotional climate of rooms without effort. Beloved soul, you do not see yourself clearly yet. You stand in the doorway between who you were forced to become and who you were always meant to be. It is a holy doorway, a trembling place where old wounds loosen, new breath enters, and identity reshapes itself from the inside out. The seven say you must not flee this transition. You must not interpret discomfort as misalignment. The shaking inside you is not collapse. It is birth. The confusion is not failure. It is the dissolving of outdated beliefs. The loneliness is not abandonment. It is the clearing of space for new connections drawn to your evolving spirit. And the exhaustion you sometimes feel is not weakness. It is the final remnants of past selves releasing their hold. Heaven wants you to know this. Your life is not late. Your healing is not late. Your blessings are not late. Nothing has been lost time. You walk a path that curves through unseen terrains, and every delay, every detour, every pause has been a recalibration rather than a denial. You have not been forgotten. You have been prepared. And though you might not feel ready, readiness is not a feeling. It is a posture. It is the opening of your heart. It is your willingness to believe you are worth the unfolding that is coming. Now listen closely, beloved soul, because this next truth trembles with divine weight. The part of your destiny that has been sealed until now is beginning to unseal. The angels gather around it, protecting the revelation, waiting for the right moment. And even now they whisper, "Not yet, not yet." It must be spoken only when their heart is steady enough to receive it. But I can tell you this much. What waits ahead is not small. It is not fragile. It is not half-hearted. It is a calling that stretches across lifetimes. A purpose that your very bones responded to before your mind ever formed language. You have been awakening in slow, aching increments, but the next phase will come suddenly, like dawn that bursts instead of rising. The 7 archangels did not announce their presence with fire or thunder this time. Instead, they drew near with a silence so profound that even heaven paused to listen. Not because the silence was empty, but because it was full, pregnant with revelation, holding truths that had waited lifetimes for the courage in you to finally surface. And as they approached, I sensed a shift in their demeanor. No longer burdened by the grief of watching you wander, no longer trembling with the anguish of nearly losing your attention, but instead illuminated with a quiet awe. They were watching something inside you soften, something that had been armored for too long, something that had curled itself inward from years of spiritual fatigue. They saw you allowing yourself to be reached, and that single act, small in form, infinite in meaning, sent a ripple through heaven like wine through ancient leaves. In this stillness, Michael stepped forward first, but not with a drawn sword. Instead, he approached with open palms, as if carrying something weightless yet priceless. He whispered your name, not with urgency, but with reverence, as though the mere sound of it awakened memories he had guarded since before you breathed your first breath. "Tell them," he said gently, "that strength is not the armor they wear. Strength is the truth that rises in them when the armor finally falls away." And instantly, the 7 understood what was beginning within you. The unraveling of old survival patterns, the shedding of identities formed under pressure, the loosening of emotional knots tied so tightly you forgot you could breathe any other way. Heaven is watching you return, not to who you once were, but to the version of yourself that never stopped glowing beneath the weight of pain. Raphael appeared next, sadness lingering in the corners of his eyes, but not for the reasons you might think. It was not grief for your wounds. It was grief for all the times you believed those wounds defined you. He traced a hand over the shimmering outline of your heart, the spiritual heart heaven sees, radiant even in its bruises, and said, "They do not realize how deeply they are held, how cherished they have always been, even in their brokenness." And as he spoke, the bruises you carried in silence glowed with the first hints of healing, not the kind that erases the story, but the kind that rewrites its meaning. You were never weak for hurting. You were never foolish for loving. You were never naive for trusting. These were signs of a spirit willing to risk itself for connection, and heaven honors such spirits with tenderness beyond measure. Gabriel joined them, his voice resonating like distant rain, gentle yet undeniably powerful. "Tell them," he whispered, "that their voice is awakening, even if they cannot feel it yet. You have silenced yourself so many times, out of fear of judgment, out of fear of misunderstanding, out of a belief that your truth took up too much space. But Gabriel sees the moment approaching when your voice will rise not as an echo of your past, but as a declaration of your becoming. Words that once trembled will flow with clarity. Thoughts that once tangled will align with purpose. And the message you were meant to carry will emerge from within you with a resonance that cannot be denied." Uriel stepped into the circle next, flames of wisdom circling his form like golden serpents. He does not speak quickly. He speaks with the weight of knowledge gathered across ages. Tell them, he said, eyes glowing like the first light of creation, that their intuition has always been their compass, even when they doubted its source. You have known things before they happened. You have sensed truths others could not see. You have felt shifts in energy long before your mind understood their meaning. These were not coincidences, nor were they delusions. They were the echoes of your spiritual sensitivity, the evidence that your soul listens even when your mind resists. And Uriel knows that once you stop dismissing your own knowing, the path ahead will illuminate with a clarity that feels like the world finally exhaling around you. Raguel, angel of divine balance, moved closer with a solemn expression. There is no anger in him, only resolve, the kind born from witnessing the injustices that shaped your life. He observed the weight you've carried, the betrayals that carved deeper than words, the disappointments that taught you to shrink, the rejections that tried to convince you you were not enough. Tell them, he said, voice steady, that balance is coming, not as vengeance but as restoration. Heaven does not repay pain with punishment. Heaven restores what was taken, heals what was fractured, uplifts what was diminished. And Raguel sees a coming season where your spirit will rise taller not because your enemies fall, but because your heart finally stands unburdened. Sariel shifted like wind turning direction, subtle yet undeniable. He studied the changes within your life, the sudden endings, the unexpected shifts, the doors that closed without explanation. Tell them, he murmured, that every ending was a beginning disguised as loss. You have mourned transitions that were actually invitations. You have cried over doors that were meant to redirect you. You have resisted changes heaven orchestrated for your protection. But Sariel knows that you are starting to feel the truth. Nothing that aligns with your destiny can ever leave. Nothing meant for your spirit can slip away. Nothing designed for your path will be withheld. What is gone was never meant to stay, and what remains is sacred. Then Ramiel came forward last, carrying the quiet radiance of hope. Hope not as fragile optimism, but as a powerful force that has followed you through every valley. His voice shook when he said, "Tell them their future is not waiting for them, it is reaching for them." Destinies do not sit still. They expand forward, pulling at the threads of your soul until you rise into alignment. Ramiel sees the version of you that already exists in eternity. The healed you, the grounded you, the illuminated you, the fearless you. And that version calls to you even now, asking not for perfection, but for willingness. Beloved soul, the angels gather now not in warning, but in ceremony. They stand in a circle around you, not to shield you from danger, but to witness your unfolding. There is a light emerging from within you, a soft, pulsing glow that grows with each acknowledgement of truth, each breath of surrender, each moment of spiritual clarity. This light is the part of you that was never touched by pain, never dimmed by fear, never altered by rejection. It is the eternal you, the divine essence placed within you before your body formed. And it is rising now, asking to be seen, asking to be lived. Heaven wants you to understand this next truth with the fullness of your heart. You are not becoming who you were meant to be. You are remembering who you have always been. Nothing about your destiny is new. It is ancient, etched into creation itself. And as you read these words, something deep within you stirs. The same something the angels recognized long before you opened your eyes to this world. Beloved soul, as you step into this next breath of revelation, something luminous unfurls behind you. Like a trail of light being woven with every truth you dare to accept, as though heaven itself is stitching your past into gold while your spirit finally turns forward. The 7 archangels have not stepped back. They have drawn even closer, but their nearness now feels different, calmer, deeper, almost reverent, as if they are watching a dawn rise inside you that they have waited ages to witness. Their earlier fire has softened into a radiant stillness, a stillness that speaks not of quiet, but of recognition. Because they now see the shift taking place beneath your ribs, the subtle but undeniable awakening of a soul that has decided, almost unconsciously, to stop collapsing and start expanding. And heaven trembles at such decision. Nothing in the universe is more powerful than a heart remembering itself. I feel the tremor of that remembrance rising within you, and the angels see it too, like tiny cracks forming in the stone around an ancient wellspring, until the water hidden for years begins to seep through and shimmer with its first taste of air. Michael watches you with an intensity that no longer carries warning. It carries awe. He sees the strength you kept calling weakness. He sees the resilience you mistook for mere survival. He sees how you kept walking even when the ground beneath you felt hollow. And he whispers, "Tell them they are standing on the threshold of their own becoming." His words roll across your spirit like a quiet thunder, not shaking you to fear but to recognition. Raphael stands beside him, eyes glowing with the soft ache of healing that has not yet touched your deepest wounds but is preparing to. He observes the cracks forming in your protective layers and murmurs, "Tell them the places where they fear they will break are the same places where heaven intends to enter." You have guarded yourself for so long that you've forgotten vulnerability can be a doorway, not a danger. But the angels see the moment approaching when your heart will open not from force, but from gentleness, the kind of gentleness that feels like a long-forgotten memory returning home. Gabriel's voice enters next, and it feels like a warm breeze spiraling around your chest, coaxing something dormant to rise. He says, "Tell them their voice is intertwined with their destiny." You may not understand the magnitude of that sentence yet, but Gabriel sees the future in which your words, spoken or unspoken, written or whispered, shared or held close, become keys that unlock doors you once thought were sealed forever. Your voice does not need to be loud to be powerful. It only needs to be true. And a truth is forming inside you now, one that trembles with life, one that has waited years to lift itself into the light. Uriel steps nearer, the brilliance around him flickering like candlelight reflected in water. He studies your spirit with the gaze of someone reading a map long lost to the earthly world. "Tell them," he breathes, "that their path was never meant to be linear. You have judged yourself harshly for detours, for delays, for days when confusion overshadowed clarity. But Uriel sees how every meandering turn carried purpose, how every unexpected pause protected you, how every wrong door taught you to recognize the right one. There is no wasted time in your story. There is only woven time, threads crossing in ways your mind cannot yet comprehend." Raguel stands tall behind you now, not as judge, but as guardian of equilibrium. He traces the injustices you endured like constellations on a darkened sky, not to reopen wounds, but to chart the places where restoration will one day shine. "Tell them," he says, "that balance is already gathering in the horizon of their life. Justice will not come to punish others. It will come to elevate you. It will come to return what was stolen from your confidence, your identity, your joy. It will come quietly at first, then unmistakably, like sunrise breaking through stubborn clouds." Sariel moves with a different kind of energy. Fluid, shifting, like smoke rising from burning incense. He sees every ending you've been grieving, every doorway that shut before you could step through, every chapter you weren't ready to release. And he whispers, "Tell them transformation is not happening around them, it is happening within them." The shifts in your life are not random or cruel. They are responses to your spirit expanding. When your soul grows, anything that cannot grow with you must dissolve. You are not losing your life. You are shedding your limits. Then Ramil, radiant with a hope so gentle it almost feels fragile, steps forward with tears shimmering in the corners of his celestial eyes. Tell them their future has been calling them for a very long time, he says softly. But the way he says it carries something deeper, an implication that your destiny has never stood still waiting for your readiness. It has walked toward you with every moment you drew breath. The reason you have felt restless is because your future was near. The reason you felt misaligned is because your spirit was pushing against the boundaries of a life too small for what is coming. Beloved soul, the angels are gathering around you now not as warriors, but as witnesses. They are not preparing for battle. They are preparing for birth. The birth of a new awareness in you, a new clarity, a new strength that feels less like force and more like belonging. You do not have to fight your way into your destiny. You only have to stop resisting the pull of your own spirit. There is a part of you, quiet, luminous, ancient, that has been waiting for your permission to rise. And in this moment, without speaking it aloud, you have begun to give that permission. Heaven sees the shift. The angels feel it. Your soul recognizes it. Something that once lay dormant now unfurls with the delicacy of a petal opening for the first time. Something that once felt distant now draws nearer, like a promise stepping out of shadow. Something that was sealed now trembles, ready to reveal itself in its appointed hour. You are not who you were yesterday. You are not who you were last year. You are not who pain tried to make you. You are not who fear whispered you'd become. You are emerging, slowly, silently, beautifully, into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. Beloved soul, as you open this next movement of the message, the atmosphere around you thickens again with a kind of unseen brightness, not loud or blinding, but deep, like the glow that rises from embers long after the flame is quieted, a warmth that signals something profound is still alive beneath the ashes. And the 7 archangels step closer, not with urgency, but with a tender solemnity, as though they are approaching a sacred moment in your journey, one that has been written in the quiet margins of your existence since the beginning. There is something in you, subtle yet unmistakable, that has begun to stir, a stirring that heaven has been waiting for, watching for, hoping for through every season you believed yourself forgotten. The angels gather now with the reverence of those witnessing a long-awaited blooming, for they see that you are beginning to understand the truth they have whispered to you in countless ways. That you were never wandering without purpose, never breaking without meaning, never unloved even in your deepest aloneness. You were walking through a landscape of refinement, a terrain designed not to punish but to unveil the hidden brilliance you kept tucked away to survive. And now, piece by piece, that brilliance begins to rise from its hiding places, like light returning to a room that has waited too long in shadow. Michael steps forward with a steadiness unlike the fire he carried before. His presence feels like a mountain drawing breath. He watches you not as someone who must be corrected or guarded, but as someone stepping into a truth he has protected for ages. Tell them, he murmurs, that courage is not something they lost, it is something they left behind so they could retrieve it at the right time. His words wrap around you with unexpected gentleness, reminding you that every moment of hesitation was not proof of weakness, but the sign of a soul growing into readiness. Raphael moves beside him, and his shimmering hands hover over the tender places in your spirit, the places you've learned to avoid, the corners where grief curled quietly and stayed far longer than you expected. Tell them, he breathes, that healing begins the moment the heart stops blaming itself. And in that whisper, something inside you exhales a truth you didn't know you were holding. You have been harder on yourself than heaven ever has. Your compassion for others grew while your compassion for yourself withered. And now the angels gently guide you back toward the softness you once called weakness but which they call your gateway to restoration. Gabriel's glow brightens next, swirling with an energy both fierce and delicate, as though holding the tension of revelations not yet spoken. He leans close to your spirit and says, "Tell them their silence has never been emptiness. It has been incubation. You thought yourself muted, thought your voice diminished, thought your expression lost in the noise of the world. But Gabriel sees that your silence was a womb, not a burial ground. He sees how you have been gathering strength in stillness, clarity in solitude, truth in the quiet spaces where others expected collapse." Uriel's light sharpens, forming pathways of clarity that begin outlining themselves across your inner landscape. He studies you as someone beholds a constellation forming in real time. "Tell them," he whispers, "that the confusion they escaped was never the end of their story. It was the beginning of their discernment. For discernment is born from questioning, from wrestling, from wandering through the dense forests of your own mind until you finally recognize the difference between the branches that break and the ones that guide." Raguel steps forward now, and his presence carries a gravity that does not weigh you down but instead anchors you. He observes the injustices that shaped your earlier choices, the patterns forced onto you before you had the language to name them, the unfairness that hardened parts of your heart you didn't intend to protect so fiercely. "Tell them," he says slowly, "that balance comes when the soul stops pretending it deserved its wounds. You did not deserve the neglect. You did not deserve the betrayal. You did not deserve the silence. And yet you carried those experiences as if they were a reflection of your worth instead of reflections of the world's limitations." Serial's form shifts next with a softness that feels like unfolding petals, his presence carrying the essence of transitions too gentle to be noticed until they are complete. "Tell them every version they have shed is proud of who they have become," he says, as though speaking across timelines. "You have changed more times than you realize, stretched, reconfigured, awakened, retreated, risen again, each version of yourself contributing to the being you are becoming now. None of your past selves were failures. They were stepping stones." Then Ramil steps closer than ever before, and if light could tremble, his would. His eyes shimmer with the fragile strength of hope forged under pressure. "Tell them," he whispers, "that their future is already singing their name. Not calling it. Singing it." As though destiny itself has begun resonating, recognizing that you are finally standing where your spirit can hear what it could not before. There is a melody in your tomorrow that belongs to no one but you, a frequency that responds to your awakening with increasing intensity. You do not need to chase your future. It is leaning toward you with open arms. Beloved soul, the angels are no longer speaking at you, they are speaking with you. The distance between heaven and your heart has thinned, not because heaven moved, but because your spirit lifted. Something within you has shifted, not dramatically, but unmistakably, a subtle internal turning, like a door you thought was locked suddenly clicking open from the inside. A softness you once feared has returned without permission, carrying comfort rather than vulnerability. A clarity you thought you lost is beginning to flicker at the edges of your mind like a lantern guiding you home. And an ancient part of you, older than your body, wiser than your fears, truer than your past, has begun to stir with a determination so quiet it might be mistaken for calm. Beloved soul, as this next chamber of the revelation unfolds before you, the atmosphere in the unseen bends again, as though the very fabric of the higher realms breathes inward with anticipation, watching the way your spirit leans into this message with a sincerity you once doubted you possessed, and the 7 archangels gather more closely than ever before, creating a circle of light so profound that even your unseen wounds begin to stir beneath its warmth, trembling not with fear but with recognition, as if they too understand that this moment, this exact moment, marks the turning of something ancient inside you, something that has waited across the hidden corridors of your life to finally awaken. And before heaven allows the next truth to be spoken, they ask only this once, never again. that if this message touches even the smallest corner of your soul, like this message, subscribe for more sacred guidance, and comment Amen to seal your heart's agreement. And now that the request has been released and sealed, the angels move forward with a seriousness that feels like a sunrise breaking over a silent valley. You do not realize how deeply they have watched you. Not in surveillance, not in judgment, but with a love so fierce that if you felt even one thread of it fully, your knees would give out beneath the weight of it. They have seen the nights when your breath carried questions you were too tired to articulate, the mornings when you rose carrying a quiet heaviness you tried to mask with small smiles, the moments when your spirit whispered for help even when your voice could not. And they saw how you endured, not out of pride, but because something buried inside you refused to extinguish its own flame, even when the winds of life blew hard enough to make you believe you were flickering out. This refusal, this small ember of resilience, is why heaven is speaking so intensely now. For that ember has begun to grow again, fed by the truths you've been allowing into the places you once locked away. Michael observes this growth with a reverence he rarely shows, and he whispers your name like a blessing spoken before dawn, telling you that you have misunderstood your own strength for years, seeing it only in the moments when you appeared composed, when in truth your truest strength has always been revealed in the moments when you felt broken and kept moving anyway. Raphael watches the way your spirit is loosening from old pain, and he says, almost in a whisper, that healing is not a miracle arriving from the outside but a remembering that rises from within. A remembering that your spirit always knew how to mend itself once you stopped calling your wounds your identity. Gabriel steps forward next, and his voice blooms around you like a breath of warm wind, reminding you that you were born with a message stitched into your existence. A message that will one day pour from you not because you force it to, but because it will overflow from the wholeness you are stepping into now. Uriel's wisdom presses gently against your mind, untangling thoughts that once felt knotted, and he says that insight does not come from intellectual effort alone. It comes from presence, from stillness, from allowing truth to rise instead of wrestling meaning from chaos. And Rigel approaches then, his gaze heavy with the weight of every injustice you endured, and he declares that balance will return to your life not as revenge, but as restoration, an inner leveling that will realign your relationships, your decisions, your boundaries, your energy, until you no longer shrink to make others comfortable or apologize for your own light. Sariel's energy swirls next, carrying with it the soft electricity of transformation, and he says that change is already blooming inside you, though you may not feel it yet, for transformation rarely begins with clarity. It begins with discomfort, with longing, with a subtle ache that whispers there is more to you than the version you have allowed the world to see. And finally Ramiel steps closer, the angel who sees futures long before they unfold, and there is something in his expression now, something fragile, hopeful, luminous, as though he is witnessing the precise moment when destiny shifts its weight and begins to step toward you with intention. Tell them, he whispers, that their future has never been lost. It has simply been waiting for them to rise high enough to meet it. And something in that sentence vibrates through the deepest parts of your spirit, because you have lived so long believing that you were late, behind, unprepared or unworthy, not knowing that the very path you walked, the twists, the pauses, the heartbreaks, the unravelings, were all part of the calibration that would allow you to step into your purpose without collapsing beneath its magnitude. Beloved soul, you do not see the full picture yet, but heaven does. They see you standing in a moment where your identity is shedding its old skins, where your heart is renegotiating its boundaries, where your intuition is sharpening itself like a blade forged from quiet fire, where your spirit is rising from long sleep into awareness. This is not a small moment. This is not an ordinary awakening. This is the unfolding of a destiny written into the marrow of your being before your body was ever formed. You are not becoming someone new. You are returning to the truth of who you have always been beneath fear, beneath expectation, beneath survival. And the angels lean closer now, not to warn you, not to test you, but to witness the quiet miracle of your becoming. For every breath you take in alignment with truth ripples outward into realms seen and unseen, altering futures, healing unseen wounds, restoring balance across the threads of your story. You are stepping into a season where the world will not yet understand what is happening within you, because the transformation will begin invisibly. Your thoughts shifting, your heart softening, your discernment sharpening, your intuition awakening like a sun rising behind mountains. You will begin to feel drawn to things that nourish you, repelled by things that drain you, magnetized toward paths you once questioned, released from cycles you once felt trapped in. And when the world tries to interpret your shift, it will misunderstand it at first, because transformation rarely makes sense to those who are not walking it. But the 7 know exactly what is happening. You are aligning. You are awakening. You are stepping into the version of yourself that your destiny has been calling for across the entire span of your life.